layers and lace. Both things are so popular for fall. So we're taking Kendosa's top, which is pattern 197. We're going to add another layer and we're going to trim it up with some lace. So I'll give you lots of options. Let's go to the table. So this is just a fun top. Everything current for fall. I used purple, I used lace. The feminine loose layered look is really popular, so I included that too. So if we look at this picture, this is the inspiration. And the reason I like to show you this is because I just want you to see what I transfer it. You can look at this picture and say, oh my gosh, I've got to have it exactly like that. I wanted to bring it a little fresher into fall to make it a little more current. Even though I loved the contrast, I loved everything about it, I just wanted to make it a little more trendy. So then the pattern I chose was pattern 197. And the reason being is it already had a full look versus the straight. And it, you know, the blouson, and that blouson is so stylish and so popular. It's one of our best-selling patterns, so I know it's a pattern that so many of you already have, and I like to take one pattern and make more uses out of it. Okay, so just easy, just simple and easy, and you'll be surprised how easy this is. So I didn't do any changes to the underlayer. There's a kind of like a tank underneath, and that's what, you know, covers and does for the leggings. And then there's a back overlay and a front overlay. So the tank, don't do anything with that. Put that aside. The back overlay, didn't change that. Put that aside. Just for fitting purposes, there's this band on the sleeve. It's finished with a little bit of band. Kendosa, Nina Kendosa is a designer in Paris. And that is actually where I got the top from. I actually bought one from Nina Kendosa because I was in love with it. So it is a great designer if you want to just kind of follow what she puts out. She puts out some cute stuff. And a lot of it I think, oh, you know, I don't need a new pattern for that. But it would be great ideas of things, of places to get ideas. Okay, so this band, you want to make sure that when you do, you know, what I would do is if your fabric and if the sizing is okay, is to choose, make up a band and just put it on your arm and make sure it's enough. Because if you need to go to a larger band, it's easy enough to do so before you cut out and sew the top as opposed to after the fact you put it on. And then if the band is too small and you've got to go to a larger size on the band because of your arms, just cut the underneath part wider to accommodate the same size. Very easy to do. Just watch for that band because the band is quite close to the arm. Okay, and if your fabric doesn't have, this fabric has two-way stretch that I'm using, and so it very easily accommodates. Okay, so then for the front, and I'm using fabric number 1926. It's this beautiful suede grape. Oh my gosh, I just love it. And then a black lace, and we've got this black lace as well. And then I chose to trim it up, the neck edge. I did it in the velvet fold over elastic because it's going into fall and the velvet just works really, really beautifully. I did have to use an extra yard because you're cutting the tank and then the back overlay, and then the front overlay is actually being cut twice if we start to look at this. So let me just show you what I did and then I'll show it to you on me. So for the front overlay, the first time I cut it on the fold, I took the bottom section here, and how you see how it comes up, I brought it across just straight. So I lengthened this 3.5 inches. If you compare it to the back, even if it's lengthened, you can see that's the difference beforehand. Even after adding the 3.5 inches, it's still longer in the back than it is in the front. All right, then I cut another layer. So that is this layer right here. You can see without it, you can just see that it's longer. It's still shorter than the tank, so it's giving you these layers. So the next layer I cut, and I cut it just like it was. That's how I cut it out. Then I opened it up, and you can see on the left side what I did is I just cut it off. And I cut it off. I saved, this is the portion I cut off. I actually cut some off, and then I cut more off. So if you notice, I'm actually only at like 3 inches in, and then cut it straight down because I really wanted it to have, you know, you want this layer to be noticeable. You don't want it to be way over here. So the closer you get it, you don't want it to be at center front. You want it to be asymmetric. So you're really only about 3 inches off the shoulder line, off the neckline, and then come down straight. All right, and so this is one layer. So over here you've got double layers. You're sewing double layers over here. All right, so you've got the one layer, and then you've got this layer. So on these 2 layers is where you're going to put the lace. And what I did is I decided I love the scallop edge, but I didn't want the lace that wide. I felt like the lace would be too overpowering. So I folded it in half and sewed it onto the bottom. And I love it. It gave me double edge. And I just left the back edge raw because you could serge it, but it has enough weight. I also left this edge raw because I really like that unfinished look. And so I sewed it on the top. So when you're constructing it, you want to sew the lace to the top layer first. Okay, so that's all you're going to do is just sew it to the top layer. Then you're putting the top layer together onto the second layer and sewing it at the side seam. Then you put the lace on after, because the lace on the lower level goes all the way around. And you'll need 3 yards of lace. Okay, and so the lace on the top layer goes on first. You can see it goes right into the side seam. And then the lace on the bottom goes all the way around the top. All the way around the overlays. You could, you know what, as I was thinking of all these options, you guys, and again, you know what, I present the ideas and you guys take them to all different levels. I've got a belt on. You could actually leave the tank off and lengthen this a little bit more if you wanted to. You can see in the back, the tank is still, you know, really the back is almost covering my rear end anyway. So you could leave the tank off altogether. But basically how I finished it up was I pinned all the neck layers together and then just used this beautiful, it's that velvet fold over elastic. It's so pretty. It's so rich looking when you see it on. And I love it. I mean, I love it. Like I say, I feel really current. It's that dark purple. It's a beautiful grape color. I've got a little bit of lace. I've got layers. It's feminine. It's soft. It's flattering. What more could you want on top? All right. Happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns.